What's up, college sports fans? I'm Stuckey.
I'm Colin Wilson.
I'm Mike Calabrese.
I'm Maria Marino.
I'm Charlie DiSturco, and we're excited that the Big Bets on Campus brand is launching its very own YouTube channel.
You'll be able to find every episode of the BBOC podcast, live shows, and other college sports content on this new channel.
Not only will the channel be dedicated to betting on college sports, but you'll also be able to find exclusive interviews with former college athletes,
college football power rankings,
and updates on other topics like the brand new College Football 25 video game series and the ins and outs of the recruiting trail all the way down to the transfer portal.
Whether you're into college football,
college basketball,
college baseball, or any of the college sports,
we are the home for college sports, and BBOC is the channel for you.
Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of the action. I'll see you there.
Welcome in, Payoff Pitch, Action Network's Major League Baseball betting podcast. We are presented by BetMGM. Brendan Glasheen on this Sunday night, August 25th, joined by Sean Zerillo and Charlie DiSturco. We'll get you set for Monday's slate in Major League Baseball. Monday's slate, August 26th, 12-gamer. So not quite everybody, but a good bunch of games here coming your way on Monday. A couple of afternoon starts, Royals and Guardians technically begin the slate at 1:10 Eastern, and then the continuation of Blue Jays Red Sox. More on that, and buckle in for what is going to be a fascinating circumstance and situation happening at Fenway Park in that game. More on that, and then we'll get to underdogs and final bets. First, though, we'll start with best bets. Sean Zerillo, where are we landing on for Monday?
3 totals I bet on the board. The one likeliest to be available at the price target I want in the morning is Braves and Twins over 7.5. I projected this at 8.53, so over 8 up to minus 110 would be my price target. Currently at 7.5, minus 115 to minus 118 is where I bet it. Going to be 91 degrees at first pitch in Minnesota tomorrow. Beautiful or hot August temperatures in Minnesota. The only time I've been in Minnesota was in mid-August. It was absolutely stunning there. It made me want to move to Minnesota, aside from my knowledge that it gets very cold there in the winters. But it was beautiful baseball weather, and I was able to go to a game there. It seems like it's going to be particularly warm tomorrow. We're going to talk about temperatures around the rest of the country. Up in Boston, closer to 71 degrees. So 20 degrees warmer in Minnesota compared to Boston. And certainly, even though the wind is blowing in about 4 miles an hour, that does upgrade my park factor at Target Field by about 5%. Target Field, pretty much a neutral park. League average park factor, 100. But tomorrow can boost it up by about 5%. So as I said, would make this closer to 8. You know, on a normal day, I think it should be closer to 8.5 for Monday's game. Max Fried. From 2020 to 2023, Max Fried started 83 times. He posted 3 walks or more in just 10 outings across those 83 starts, okay? 10 out of 83. He started 22 times this year. He's had 3 or more walks in half of those starts, 11 of the 22. He's been on the IL. His strikeout rate is down. His walk rate is up. The stuff plus, the velocity is actually fine, but the stuff plus ratings are trending downward. And since his last IL stint, 13% strikeout minus walk rate, 92 stuff plus, 98 pitching plus. He was closer to 18% and 100 on those marks beforehand. So he's come back off the IL, shown reduced metrics. Walks have gone up, strikeouts have gone down. And overall in the year, walks have been up, strikeouts have been down. So I think Max Fried, evidently, pitching through injury, you know, with the Spencer Strider injury and all the other injuries that the Braves have sustained, I think Max Fried wants to continue to go out there and pitch for them. I'm not sure what his contract situation is, actually, because we brought up Joe Musgrove the other day, and I immediately knew in the back of my mind Joe Musgrove had been extended. So if you could look up for me, Brennan, what Max Fried's current contract situation is, that could partially be playing into it. I don't remember if he ended up getting signed. But on the other end, Bailey Ober has a home run issue. It's going to be warm, and the Braves swing for the fences and try to hit fly balls. That's all they do. Ober career 1.4 home runs per 9. So 8.5 my projection. Bet this over to 8 at minus 110. And, hopefully Max Fried gets roughed up a little bit as he's continuing to show some shaky command.
He's on arbitration avoided, $15 million, and he's going to be an unrestricted free agent going into 2025.
There you go. So he's trying to get to the end of the season because he's trying to get paid. And this has been, unfortunately for him, the least healthy and worst year he's had of, his peak career. So yeah, wrong timing, but that's why he's trying to stay on the field.
Fair to bring up, though, at this point. I mean, we are, as of next week, when we're doing the same record time, we're into September, and these are the kinds of things you got to monitor for daily slates. Okay, Charles, what's up? Best bet for Monday.
Yeah, I'm not staying away from sides. I've banned myself from that for a little bit after the Mets blew it and the Astros' first 5 came to a close thanks to Ramon Urias. So I have home runs that I'm going to be playing in the market. The first one and my favorite one is Bryce Harper, home run against Ronel Blanco. Props aren't really up right now, but I'll be playing this as long as it's not like plus 285, which I assume it's not, given the fact that Bryce Harper hasn't hit a home run in over 15 days. He's basically gone the entire month with just 2 home runs, but I think this is a great matchup to buy on Bryce. And you look at his FanGraphs rolling hard hit rate data, they've absolutely spiked the past week. If you look at his like rolling 10, 15 game, you can see a huge spike in hard hit rate. But the success really hasn't come. Harper's hitting, about 200 in the last week or so, couple weeks. And Ronel Blanco, I've been on this show plenty of times saying how he's due for some negative regression. It's been coming in the second half. He's been a much worse pitcher. And his expected ERA still remains around 4, and his actual ERA has jumped up above the 2s into the 3s. But there's still negative regression to be had. He gives up a near 10% barrel rate and is a really high fly ball pitcher, about 44% of the time, and then add another like 18 to 20% of line drives, and that's Ronel Blanco. He doesn't put the ball on the ground. He's been benefited from fly ball outs, just maybe dead ball or whatever it is. He has a 208 batting average on balls in play. I think all of that's going to come, a negative regression for Blanco. And I think Bryce Harper is the perfect guy to do it, given, the recent track history on the underlying metrics for him. The success hasn't been coming as much. He's had a couple doubles the last couple games, but I think this is a good time to buy on Bryce. I'll probably be playing his total bases, but definitely looking at him for a home run. It'll be like in the 80s out in CBP. The wind's very little, but blowing out 4 miles to right field. So I think that Bryce can pull one and get do some damage against Blanco here.
Okay, very good. Bryce Harper seems due. Let's dive into our Fade the Public segment. So, to be very clear, the Red Sox and Blue Jays are playing twice on Monday. The game we are going to discuss in terms of the Fade the Public is going to be Game 2. The game that's actually already on the schedule. But the Red Sox and the Blue Jays are resuming a game that was suspended from earlier in the year. And that does, I think, factor into the discussion of the handicap. So for the splits, according to the Action app, 87% of the cash of the money and 99% of the bets are coming in on Boston over Toronto. The pitching matchup in Game 2, Barrios and Nick Pivetta. But Sean Zerillo, I think it is worth mentioning what's happening in this continuation of a suspended game to lead off the day.
Yeah, it impacts the handicap because I need to see how the bullpens play out to fully know where I project the total for Game 2. That is absolutely part of the handicap. And they're resuming the second inning with a 0-0 game. So lots of pitchers could potentially get used depending on how long the starting pitchers go. I haven't looked into actually whether Rodriguez and Cutter Crawford, who had originally started those games for Boston and Toronto originally, are going to start or continue pitching, I should say, tomorrow. I would imagine
those are the listed guys right now. So
yeah, I would imagine they could continue to try to pitch them. But the most baseball thing of all time is happening right at the start of this game. So this game was suspended on June 26th. Danny Jansen was at the plate at the time for the Toronto Blue Jays. Yep. He was in an 0-1 count, went to a rain delay. Danny Jansen now on the Boston Red Sox. Reese McGuire, who was catching the game at the time for the Red Sox, no longer on the roster. So Alex Cora has said that Danny Jansen will catch the game or the resumption of the game for Boston. The problem is he's still hitting for Toronto and needs to be pinch hit for. So Danny Jansen not only is going to become the first player in MLB history to play on both sides of the same game, he probably also will be the first and only player ever to catch the at-bat that he originally started. What is unfortunate about this is he was in an 0-1 count, not an 0-2 count. If he was in an 0-2 count and the pinch hitter strikeout would get credited to Danny Jansen. So there could have been a possibility.
Oh my God.
He was already in an 0-2 count that he could have struck out in an at-bat that he was actually catching. Unfortunately, the batter who pinch hits will be responsible for the result of the at-bat no matter what, because the count was only 0-1. But yes, this is the most baseball scorekeeping thing of all time. I remember there was a player, I can't remember who ended up having a home run before his major league debut because of a suspended game. If you guys recall that one, I believe from last year, because he came up. Then they resumed a game from earlier in the year, and he homered in that. But his major league debut was technically after that game had originally started. So he homered after before his debut. Who was that?
Soto, right?
Yeah, felt, in my mind, it was much more recently. The only thing I see about it, on the internet, Googling it quickly, is Juan Soto.
It was Soto because you know what it was? I was interning for NBC Sports in DC at the time, and I wrote an article on that. I'm pretty sure if you Google that, I might be the article writer for NBC Sports. I actually remember I was at the game that it happened. Funny enough.
No kidding. Okay, well, I think this is all. So, but to get back on track, the point being here, Sean, is you got to see what would be your play as of right now, seeing where the line is for game 2. That's all happening in game 1. And
Absolutely.
then 7:05, we have a second game, Red Sox Jays at Fenway.
Yeah, you want to watch that first at bat just for the amusement of the start of that game and all the commentary surrounding it. I'm sure we'll get some little baseball historical anecdotes as well. I'm sure they'll have ready to go for that. But I did bet the under 9.5 as of Sunday night. The total has moved down, I believe, from 9.5 to 9, assuming the bullpens are not overused in game 1, assuming, average rest for the relievers, or like the average of the bullpens is available for game 2. I'd make this 8.57. So I'd bet the under 9 to minus 105. If more relievers get used, I'd probably knock it down to 9 and even money, and so forth, depending on how much usage there is. But would not go past 9 and minus 105 for now. May shorten that up a little bit. Probably will not extend it out beyond minus 105. I think that's the juiciest number that I would take. Now, here's why. So, as I mentioned, drastic temperature difference, right? Minneapolis versus Boston. Boston, it's going to be 71 degrees at first pitch for the evening game tomorrow. Bit cooler. But Jose Barrios, who's a guy who is always better at home than on the road, I don't necessarily care about his home road splits. He's sort of neutralized them in the past couple of years. But he's pitched much better of late. And he's a guy I bet against a lot this season. 3.8 ERA, 4.97 expected ERA, 92 stuff plus, 99 pitching plus, both career lows. But over the past 30 days, the stuff plus is up. The pitching plus rating is up. His bot ERA has gone from 4.11 to 3.5. His strikeout minus walk rate has gone from 10.4% to 18.6%. And this, like across the board, better results. I think 3 out of his past 4 games, he's gotten a quality start. The strikeouts are up. The walks are down. The bot ERA and all the pitch modeling metrics are trending in the right direction. So I think Jose Barrios is pitching the best that he has pitched all season. I don't really know what's going on with the Blue Jays, considering he's pitching well. Bowden Francis almost threw a no-hitter the other day, and I bet on Bowden Francis in multiple starts now. He's having a very odd age 28 breakout. So the Jays have had a miserable season. They seem like they're getting decent starting pitching here from some of their guys at the end. Nick Pivetta, by the way, still retains the highest stuff plus figure amongst starting pitchers in baseball at 135. He hasn't pitched to it. He's pitched to an expected ERA of about 3.95 the past 2 years. I think that's where I put Nick Pivetta. But yeah, the weather a little bit cooler should knock this total down by about 10%. Boston plays about 17% above the major league average. We'll talk about another total in a little bit. I said Target Field is about a league average park. Target Field should be playing similarly to Fenway tomorrow, actually. I think they should both be about 4 or 5% above a league average park, but that's bumping up Minnesota by 5% and downgrading Boston by 10 to 12%. So should be playing about the same, but for different reasons.
Okay. There you go. Charlie, sticking with your theme of home runs, you got a player target in this game. Game 2, Red Sox and Blue Jays.
Yeah, Rafael Devers, I think, is the guy that I'm targeting here. And, Sean mentions the recent success of Jose Barrios. He still is giving up home runs outside of the last game against the Reds, and especially on the road, he's giving up a lot of home runs. So that's where I'm targeting it. I think that Devers is the best option in the home run market when it comes to that. like for me, I still look at it and I look at Barrios on the road. I'm still a bit concerned about like a 5-year Ray on the road. And the kicker here is that he's given up 19 homers in 73 and a third innings on the road versus at home. It's only 8 across 83 and a third. So, maybe it's solo shots that come through, and maybe Devers dies on the warning track, but the hard hit rate being over 42% and still around where he was 2 years ago is a bit concerning for me. Devers in general just absolutely crushes righties. The 320 average and OPS that's near 1100. So I'm looking toward Devers in the market in that one. He's been playing, better of late. Hit a home run today, and I like to target guys, especially in the total bases market, off like another home run or off an extra base hit where they're seeing the ball well and they're hitting the ball hard, and so that's where I'm looking at Devers. And even in the game against the D-backs before that, he had a really hard ground out, a single, and 2 walks. So maybe he's pitched around, but if he's not, I think he's live to do some damage in the home run market.
So I want to qualify the mention that I made about Barrios like improving his home road splits. You look at the actual results; they have not improved. You cited it, the 8 at home, 19 on the road. I mean, that's absurd. But the expected ERA or the expected FIP and the strikeout minus walk rate are virtually identical. 1.1% the strikeout minus walk rate different. His expected FIP is I was looking at lefty righty splits. Strikeout minus walk rate is basically identical home and road, 19.1%, 19%. Expected FIP at home, 4.33. On the road, 4.54. So it could be like a mental thing where like he's getting into the similar situations, but on the road, like he just kind of melts down and leaves a meatball over the plate. But what I will say, and is why I wanted to say that, if you look at his career home road splits and the expected FIP, he's 0.7 of a run better at home than on the road, 3.8 versus 4.5. When I said like the splits have improved on the road, it's actually not that he's gotten better on the road. I think he's just gotten worse at home, and they've sort of like pushed together. But the expected FIP the past 2 years, I believe, is like very, very identical. The strikeout minus walk rate, very identical. But if you look at his longer career sample, the strikeout minus walk rate at home is 5% better. The expected FIP is 0.7 of a run better. But I've never put like personally a ton of stock into home run splits for guys. I think they do sort of even out over time. Obviously, guys playing at Coors or guys playing in like particularly offensive, advantageous or suppressing environments, they are going to have noticeable splits. But if a guy is playing at a league neutral park, guys playing in Minnesota, they should have pretty comparable home run splits. Barrios played in Minnesota for most of his career. So even Rogers Center, is 96%, 100% of a league average run environment, pretty league average park, depending if the roof is open or closed. But yeah, I would expect him to be a guy whose performance is the same home and road. But like, I could quantify it with the expected stats, but then, like I said, you may get in situations or jams where he's a little bit less comfortable on the road, a little bit less comfortable on that mound, and just serves up a meatball and is getting worse results. That's something that I can't quantify, but something that I think intuitively makes sense.
Okay, very good. There you go. Enjoy that if you have a chance to throw on Red Sox and Blue Jays twice.
Game one.
ESPN Plus for the continuation of the first game, and they're on MLB Network for the second game. Underdogs. Charlie's going to pass on the dogs, as you heard his spiel from the top. Zerillo does, and Zerillo's got a targeting a particular team. I'm curious to hear this.
Yeah, I haven't bet the White Sox really at all this season, which has been to my benefit. The White Sox are probably, the 2024 White Sox, probably the worst team to bet on that I can ever remember. Obviously 31-100 this season. They're pacing for an MLB worst 123 losses, worst of all time, but also worst winning percentage of all time. And if you consistently bet $100 on the White Sox across all 131 of those games this season, you'd be down $5,000. Nearly $5,100 with a minus 39% ROI. Astounding. Usually the worst teams in a season, the ROI is like minus 8 to 12%, not minus 40%. They've been particularly bad. But here's the kicker. First 5 innings, the White Sox, 47, 65, and 19. Minus 220 for a consistent $100 or better. Minus 1.7% ROI. Okay. I think we found out about the White Sox. If you're going to bet them first 5 or pass, obviously not betting them first 5 every game, But I do think the drastic difference in ROI between the first 5 and the full game shows you how crappy their bullpen is, and how also just like the will to win is not there in the late innings. TWTW, the will to win. It's just not there in the late innings for them. They have no motivation to win. But early in the game, when they're starting pitchers on the mound and, all things are equal, yeah, they seem to be like a 50-50 team on the first 5 money line. Or they're winning at 42%, but relative to the odds, they're like a coin flip. And they performed about as the betting market would expect them to. They've drastically underperformed the full game market. Now, I give them a slight starting pitching edge for Monday's matchup. Davis Martin has a 4.14 expected ERA, a 4.36 body ERA, 102 stuff plus, 97 pitching plus because the command is wonky. But the guy he's facing, Ty Madden, I believe making his major league debut in AAA, Madden had an 11% walk rate. Major league average is about, I think 8%, 10%. So it's well above the major league average. 95 pitching plus, 94 location plus, 99 stuff plus. I know I said those backwards, but he's very comparable in terms of pitch modeling metrics to Martin, except he's slightly below him. Stuff plus is down 3 points, the location plus is down 3 points, and the pitching plus is down 2 points. So the pitch modeling metrics are there to tell us like how guys compare once they jump into the big leagues. It's supposed to be a good predictor of what these guys are, even though they're not pitching in the major leagues. Pitch modeling metrics say they're comparable at best, if not slight advantage for Davis Martin, who also has the major league experience and a bit more comfort. I made this about even money for the first 5 and minus 105 for, or I should say White Sox plus 105 for the full game. So plus 115 or better would technically be a bet for me on Chicago. I think I'm just going to stick with the first 5 line, though. I saw a plus 120 out there at a very popular book. I saw plus 108s to plus 110s out there at 2 other books. So plus 108 for better. Plus 108 or better for me on the Chicago White Sox just in the first 5 innings. If we bet them the rest of the season, I think it's only going to be first 5, not full game, because that ROI is astounding for the White Sox this year.
Ty Madden is a first-round pick out of Texas. First-round pick in 2021. So something.
Yeah, arm talent, good stuff. But the walk seemed like a concern. I mean, maybe he's improved the command more recently, which is why they're bringing him up. But also, the Tigers have just been throwing bullpen games like every single day. Starting Brobrisky or Alex Faedo and then throwing a different guy behind them. So at some point, they did need to bring guys up to actually give them innings because they couldn't bullpen it forever the rest of the way.
Well, and maybe by keeping Skubal at the deadline, see if you're building something rotation-wise for going forward, right? I would think, right?
I bet the Orioles wish they had Skubal now with Eflin going down and Grayson being down and Corbin Burns struggling a little bit.
And Trevor Rogers sucks.
Well, we knew that was going to happen, but
there is a Well, go ahead. So I was just going to mention that there is a path on the Orioles under to still maybe come through. You think
it's possible? Yeah, given the pitching they have, certainly there's series with the Astros where they came back each of the past 2 days, and then also again tonight. We'll see how this game ends up finishing out if they come back one more time in the 9th inning. But yeah, I think there's still a path for the Orioles to not obviously finish with the second seed in the AL, but to potentially go over or go under 92.5, 91.5. It's unlikely, but they slowed down from where they were earlier in the year. They were projecting for like 96 to 99 wins early. Now they're pacing for like 93 to 94. So
they have to play 500 ball the rest of the season. If they lose today, it's 500 ball is under 91.5.
Yeah, it's not happening. And that's the thing. Once you get to the end of the season is you start miscounting, like, or you see like, okay, they have to play at this pace, but then you're like, yeah, but there's only 30 games left. Like, so what does that entail? And as Charlie just quantified, it entails going 500, which is not happening.
Yeah, 15-15. Your best case scenario is that they get to like the last series needing a win and they just absolutely sit everybody because they're like, screw it, we want to play in the postseason.
Yeah, Rays over 84.5 is still possible. They need to play some good baseball the rest of the way, and they have a very tough schedule the rest of the way. So that also seems unlikely. But I think of the two, that's far likelier.
Interesting.
Yeah,
that gives
the Rays blowing 2 games against the Dodgers too was not helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good deal. I mean, you got to factor this stuff in though. Coming up now with the clinchers and hangover games, all that good
Oh yeah,
stuff.
that's
That's the
hangover.
stuff we live
we
for.
discussed Astros futures, even the Astros like having this opportunity against Baltimore, they could have had a 4-game sweep in Baltimore potentially. They won the first game, they blew leads in the second and third games, and they're winning again on Sunday after blowing a 3-run lead in the fifth inning, of course. But they had their chance to like make a real move for the number 2 seed. The Guardians swept. And now the Guardians host the Royals in a hugely important series this week over the next few days. So that's going to be massive for the AL Central, but also now the Guardians are 6 games in front of the Astros. You know, it seemed like a few days ago, maybe the Astros closed them down. Well, the Guardians are closer to the 1 seed than they are to the Astros at this point. So it might be the Yankees who have to fall off for the Astros to get the number 2 seed. And Jordan's hurt, and I don't know what to make of that. So yeah, I haven't fired on Red Sox or Astros futures yet. We're still in a holding pattern, but I want to see if Jordan comes back tomorrow or if they do stick him on the IL.
Okay, let's head into our final round. Zarello's got one more total he wants to discuss, and Charlie has another home run play, and we will get out of here. Go ahead, Sean.
Yankees Nationals over 9. I would bet this up to -112. Betted it even money tonight. It moved up closer to -110, but projected this at 9.6. Warm weather in Washington, 86 degrees. Wind blowing out to right field, 45 miles an hour. Nationals Park typically about 5 to 6% above Major League average. Should be closer to 10% tomorrow. So a slight park upgrade. Now, Nestor Cortez has been really sharp his last 2 starts. I think back-to-back 7 shutout innings in each of those outings. And Mitchell Parker coming off a really good start against the Rockies, 7 innings, 1 run. The Yankees are also in their lesser split. Like there's, not a good argument I'm making for the points of this game, that it's a numbers play. The Yankees, I just want to point out though, they've been about first on the entire, I think first or second all year against right-handed pitching. Opposite since the All-Star break, either first or second. But against lefties, they're closer to 10th. So just something to keep an eye on going forward. The Yankees do hit righties better than lefties. And if you're going to attack them on the money line, generally you want a left-handed starter facing them. The Nationals, though, are frisky. They put the ball in play a lot. They score runs. Like I was betting against them earlier in the year. I had their win total under. They've been pacing for like 74, 75 wins the entire season. They just brought up their top prospect, right?
Yeah, John Cruz.
Yep.
Yeah, and James Wood has been up the entire year. I'm not sure if James Wood has pulled a fly ball yet. There was
yes, he did. He pulled his
finally
first
pulled
home
one?
run. Yeah. I think it was a 3-0 or a 3-1. He crushed it into right center.
Yeah, James Wood had an OPS over 800 and like 4 home runs and 15 extra base hits in like 150 plate appearances, and he hadn't even pulled the fly ball yet in the air.
Yeah.
So once James Wood starts pulling the ball in the air, he's going to be an absolute freak show. I mean, legit, like not hyperbolic to say if he figures it out. He's 21 years old. I think he could be an MVP candidate next year. Legitimately, like he's a freak show.
Yeah.
And he already has an 820 OPS as a rookie. If he figures it out, this guy is going to be a monster. Like 40 home runs, 1,000 OPS. I think the Nationals are very serious next year. And looking around the AL East, the Braves, a lot of injuries. And Max Fried, we just talked about, is going to be a free agent. They're going to have to figure out their pitching staff for next year, especially Strider, and his health. The Mets may finally spend their money, right? The Marlins obviously won't be doing anything, but the Phillies window feels like it's closing a little bit. This team is all in its 30s, early 30s, mid 30s. And I don't think this Phillies window lasts more than another couple of years. They built this team to win now. They've been in the mix the past couple of years. I think it's this year or next year the Phillies are still around. But after that, I think it's the Nationals' turn.
I literally don't know how the Padres lose the NL at this point. Just to put this out there. Like,
Don't say that.
After this Mets series, bro, watching fucking Jason Adams, Jeremiah Estrada, Tanner Scott, Rob Suarez, it is a nightmare from hell. I like this team is incredible, and they don't even have Tatis yet. And
the Dodgers lineup, though, I have to say, now that Muncy's back in there, it's so much deeper and scarier once you put Muncy in there.
Yeah.
Because Lux has actually been hitting. Lux has had like a 950 OPS since the All-Star break. He's been great. I have him in both fantasy leagues I'm in. He's been a dominant contributor. He really has figured it out, and he's really broken out. Obviously, you have Mookie back in there with Ohtani and Freeman. But then adding Muncy in there, too, with Lux hitting, Now they have like 7 hitters, where it felt like for a month and a half, they had like 2 scary hitters. Now they have like 7 scary guys again. So getting through that lineup is ferocious. But Glasnow on the IL, Yamamoto apparently rehabbing, coming back soon, but we'll see how that goes. Walker Buehler looks shot.
Yeah,
Bobby Miller looks shot. Flaherty had injury concerns, which is why the Yankees didn't trade for him. So yeah, I think they still have significant pitching concerns. But the scariest lineup. But yeah, hopefully the Padres bullpen can neutralize them in October. And don't sleep on the Diamondbacks either. The Diamondbacks are playing great ball too.
The minute Muncy homered he homered in the game he came back in. It was his first game.
And then he hit one the next day too.
The minute that happened, I said, "Uh-oh!" Like this.
Yeah.
It's just obvious, easy to say that now, hindsight 2020. But like, we Sean's point, we're stuck in this kind of everlasting cycle of trying to figure it out between 5 and 9, and that is just that's gone. Dave Roberts doesn't really have to manage; just that's the lineup, and yeah. All right.
Yeah, they got rid of Jason Hayward. Tommy Edman, even like taking shots on guys like Tommy Edman instead of just like continuing to trot Kike out there. Yeah, they've done everything they can basically to upgrade the roster, aside from like the days where they have to play Miguel Rojas, but he's been fine. You know, Miguel Rojas has a 750 OPS, so they did everything they needed to do. I'm sure if he wasn't hitting as well as he is, they would have tried to upgrade him too. But yeah, I think this Dodgers team is probably fine in the division again. You know, they're up 3 games in Arizona. I think they'll probably hold on. But the pitching is always going to be a question in October. It will be every year because they can't keep him healthy. But I will say Kopech looks like the scariest relief pitcher in baseball now. Talk about aura. I'm terrified of Michael Kopech. I think he finally gave up a run the other day for them, but he looks frightening as their closer. Potential closer. I would assume future closer.
All right, Charlie, why don't you take us home? What do you got for your last home run pick?
Yeah, I will say also, just to keep going back, the fact that Ohtani like is gonna screw me out of the Lindor MVP ticket, I'm like so upset after this weekend, because when Lindor hit the 2 home runs and then the next day Shohei went 40-40 with a grand slam walk-off, I was like you got to be shitting me. Like the second time I was like, oh man, maybe Lindor could make a run at it. No, but anyway.
This Sunday night record, we're doing these night records now as opposed to like 10 a.m. Monday or 10 a.m. Tuesday. The case study here is we're using these night shows as like group therapy sessions. That's
I need it, Brendan. I need it.
And no, I'm here for it. It's just something I've known.
200-1. It was 200-1.
I'm happy to get this off your chest. I'm happy.
Now he's down 5-1. 5-1, I think.
Yeah, 5-1, and then Ohtani curb stomped me. Like
Lindor and Bobby Witt are having arguably 2 of the best shortstop seasons ever, and neither one is going to win the MVP.
Speaking of Bobby Witt, that's my home run pick, my last home run pick for tomorrow. I like the tear that he's on right now, but I guess the whole season, but right now too in particular. Mm-hmm. And then he gets the Guardians, who they're either starting Logan Allen or Joey Cantillo, and Allen, one of them is going to start after like a bullpen start for the Guardians in the first game. They have a doubleheader tomorrow. Yeah. In game 2, I'm assuming that Cantillo gets the start, but if Allen does, I don't care which one of them. Both of them suck, and I am going to bet Bobby Witt against a lefty here. Allen has a 5.6 expected ERA and a 46% hard hit rate in the majors. When down to the minors, he had a 2 home run per 9 in the majors this year, not generating swings and misses, like barrel right up to 11%. When down to the minor leagues and in AAA in 6 starts, has a 2 home run per 9. So he absolutely can't figure it out this season, and it must be an offseason adjustment that needs to be made for him because he's atrocious. And then Cantillo, he comes up, and they've been using him. He has an 11% barrel rate, a near 50% hard hit rate allowed, a 6.4 strikeout minus walk rate, a 7 expected ERA, and has allowed 2 home runs in 3 of his 4 starts. So both of them giving up a lot of fly balls, a lot of hard hit and barreled balls put into play. And what better than to get a guy like Bobby Witt, who will probably be around 3-1 in both games. But I'll probably target the second one just because the opener gives a righty on righty to start. And then I'd rather have that extra at bat against the lefty. So I'm going to target in the second game, but I don't care who's starting, Cantillo or Allen. Both of them give up a lot of fly balls, a lot of hard hit balls. And Bobby Witt is going to continue to mash the baseball, but unfortunately, he's not going to win MVP either because Aaron Judge will not stop hitting home runs. He's plus 145 tomorrow. Judge, by the way, to hit a home run.
Absurd.
Okay.
It is Allen confirmed for the Guardians for game 2. Nick Sandlin is opening in game 1. I'm not sure if Cantillo is the plan to use behind him, or I haven't figured out the Guardians pitching approach for game 1 yet. They haven't really said either.
He was called up. He was called up for the 27th man, so I'm assuming he'll get bulk unless he pitches after Allen, which in that case, like I would love that, and I'd get Allen and Cantillo. They
may just go all out with the bullpen to try to win game 1. I really have not figured out what they're doing in game 1. They may just like actually bullpen the whole game. They didn't use their bullpen is relatively well rested going into tomorrow. They used key relievers today, but nobody was like multiple times in multiple days. Their bullpen should be fine. So they can, if they want in game 1, because it's a very important series against the Royals, they could just try to bullpen it for all 9 innings. And then in game 2, just throw, as you said, Allen and Cantillo, stack them on top of each other and just get through the game and see what happens. But yeah, they have a lot of flexibility tomorrow with how they can handle it. But I agree with you. If you're betting the whip prop, I would save it for game 2. I would not bet it in game 1. He may just get a bunch of righties.
Yeah. I'll gladly take Witt. I might even ladder the total bases with him because he's absolutely automatic right now. Even sometimes it's only like minus 140. I'll see what it is whenever they announce. It has to show up on the prop board and all that. And it's 940 on a Sunday night. So nothing's really up right now.
Mid 80s temperatures, wind pretty neutral as well. So good hitting weather, probably close to the league average park. Guardians Park, Progressive Field, out to left field is normally, 6% below league average. This year out to right field, it's been like 30% above the major league average, but Bobby Witt generally pulling it. And they do have that big wall at Progressive Field, right? It's tough to pull it over that sometimes. So definitely have some total bases, Charlie, in addition to the home run prop. You don't want to get robbed when a double scrapes off the top of the wall.
That would be on brand for how this week has gone for me. So yeah.
Tom, we just calmed him down.
And he hits liners too. He's not a guy who like hits them high.
No, I know. Like, Kaufman, he'd hit if he didn't hit in Kaufman all the time, he'd have so many more home runs too.
Yeah.
But Brenton,
you good?
You want my text at 9:30 p.m. tomorrow night? Jesus, Bobby Witt just nailed one off the wall. No, Zerillo's getting ahead of that text message. He doesn't want it to come.
I'm just thinking about the wall, and I was like, oh no, this is how he loses the bet. Let's make sure we have some total bases as well. The problem is he's going to hit it so hard, it's going to ricochet off the wall to the left fielder, and he's going to get held up between first and second.
His speed, he's gonna get that double. If it was like me out there on the bases, I'd be a single.
All right. The host and me has to end this little party. Find Zerillo and Charlie in the Action app. Should they add anything else? Tomorrow, we'll have another episode coming your way on Tuesday. Keep your eyes peeled. Your 5-star ratings and reviews are greatly appreciated wherever you listen to Payoff Pitch. Also, be sure to check out the Action Network Discord. There's a link in the episode description of the podcast to the Discord channel. Very important if you want to get involved with some of our football contributors over in the Discord, coming very soon. And we'll be back on Tuesday. Payoff Pitch is Action Network's MLB betting podcast presented by BetMGM. Best of luck. Thanks for listening to us in our group therapy session. We'll see you again tomorrow.